So thanks for joining and welcome to the UN Global Compact Network Australia and this open house. We are presenting to you from the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay our respects to elders past and present. If you like, you can share your name, your company and where you're joining from. This presentation is for both existing participants of the UN Global Compact Network as well as for interested organizations. Next slide, please. So my name is Greta Wescott. I'm the Senior Manager of Engagement at the UN Global Compact Network Australia, henceforth to be called UNGCNA. With me on this call are Farah Dirgantoro, Engagement Coordinator, and Neha Nithin, Data Coordinator. And for those who don't know us yet, please meet the team. We are 14 colleagues based in Melbourne, Hobart, and Sydney. Next slide, please. We also have two guest speakers joining us today. Lydia Kilcullen, Manager Sustainability, Global Sustainability and External Affairs at Fortescue, and UNGCNA's Dan Wilcock, Head of Sustainability Governance, who will be speaking with Lydia about her recent experience as a participant of our greenwashing cohort. Next, please. So today, I'll briefly cover an overview of who we are, what we do, and the benefits of membership before Dan will speak with Lydia. For the Q&A at the end, you can use the chat function at the bottom of your screen to ask questions and access the links to materials and events that Farah will be posting. The session, again, it is being recorded, and the links, including the recording link, will be shared with everyone who has registered. If we cannot get to your question for whatever reason, we might be chatting away today, we will respond to you afterwards. So we will keep a record of who has asked what and get back to you. With that, let's get started. So next slide, please, and a quick sort of recap of who we are and what we do. And click next again, please. The UN Global Compact was launched at Davos 25 years ago by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan with a bold vision: to unite businesses around the world in advancing human rights, labor standards, environmental stewardship, and anti-corruption. What started as a bold call to action has become the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. Together, the UN and the founding companies developed a set of principles which would form the basis upon which responsible businesses would operate. Next slide, please. The principles at the heart of the UN Global Compact are built on the pillars of human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. These principles are a common ethical and practical framework for operationalizing corporate sustainability. They are derived from UN declarations and conventions, and they represent the fundamental values that business should embed in their daily strategies. If you click once more, Neha, you can see that also the UN Global Compact has the mandate to deliver the private sector contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. This United Nations framework is a set of goals that articulate clearly what it is that we mean by the world that we all want. They represent aspirational long-term targets for business and other stakeholders to work together towards creating a more sustainable and equitable world. Next slide, please. Since that time of early leadership and development of the UN Global Compact 10 principles, many organizations have joined, and we count over 23,000 businesses around 160 countries as our members today. Business today operates in a world defined by volatility, shifting regulation, political and geopolitical uncertainty, disrupted supply chains, rising expectations from investors, customers, and communities. Sustainability has moved from good to do to business critical, shaping strategy, capital access, competitiveness, and resilience. Next slide, please. Thanks, Farah. This slide depicts 7 focus areas where business has an outsized effect on outcomes. Firstly, looking at these tiles, you might be aware of gaps that your organization has identified in some areas and might wish to focus on. You are invited to work with us and utilize our offering and guidance to address these gaps. Secondly, where there's expertise, thought leadership, and leading practice within your business, we want to amplify your organization and collaborate. And thirdly, via peer learning and networking opportunities, you get access to like-minded leaders and communities from all sectors to together move the dial. These opportunities for engagement, aligned to the ESG model you might be familiar with, are in our country network offering bundled into an environment and climate change work stream, a business and human rights work stream, and a sustainability governance work stream. To give you a couple of examples of offerings and activities in each work stream, let's start with the E, environment and climate change. So, for example, our sustainability reporting community of practice, or SRCOP in short, is now assisting nearly 250 professionals in preparing for mandatory climate reporting, but much, much more. We also run a Climate Ambition Accelerator, which is a member-only cohort that meets online over a 6-month period to learn how to set a science-based target and get to net zero. Expressions of interest are currently open for this year. For our business and human rights stream, or the S in ESG, we, for example, run a modern slavery community of practice, our MSCOP, and it's available for both SMEs and corporations. For larger businesses, there's an implementing as well as an optimizing stream, depending on your self-assessed maturity in this space. We also hold an annual dialogue on business and human rights, which is a full-day event for practitioners in charge of managing supply chains, grievance mechanisms, due diligence, modern slavery, and much more. However, the sustainability governance workstream is very much in focus for our open house today, and so I would like to dive into an exciting offering available to both participants and non-participants. Next slide, please. I am talking about our facilitated Australian greenwashing course to start with. So with both the Australian Security and Investments Commission, ASIC, and the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, ACCC, targeting environmental and sustainability claims in recent years, greenwashing is no longer just a reputational risk, it's a serious compliance issue. Companies are now facing multiple risks, including multi-million-dollar penalties, potential legal consequences, and lasting damage to consumer trust. Our course, Greenwashing, Time to Stop the Spin Cycle, is designed for Australian business professionals across a range of functional areas, including marketing and communications, operations, compliance, finance, reporting, and sustainability. Through a facilitated cohort experience, you will learn from leading experts and from your peers about what a good ESG narrative looks like, how to identify and avoid greenwashing pitfalls, and how your role could contribute meaningfully to global sustainability efforts. To drive efforts to achieve the SDGs, it is critical that businesses adopt sustainability reporting and that people everywhere have access to relevant information about businesses' sustainability practices. So join a dynamic learning experience where you'll gain insights from leading experts and collaborate with peers to explore what makes an ESG narrative accurate and truly impactful. So you can discover how your organization can be a force for good in shaping a better, more sustainable future. Registrations for the March cohort, which is next month, will be closing on March 9, with the course running from March 16 to April 2, so the 2nd of April. So technically you could be an expert before Easter. We also have another cohort in October if you wanted to secure your spot early. Now the next slide, please. Thank you. Let's look at the global greenwashing course. With greenwashing enforcement being a priority in many jurisdictions, this course equips you to proactively safeguard your organization from legal, reputational, and market risks. Based on the success of the facilitated Australian course that I just talked about, the UNGCNA has developed global greenwashing, time to stop the spin cycle. This course is a global, on-demand, anti-greenwashing training available fully on demand. So businesses and professionals can join from around the world. There is no set start dates or live events. So you have complete freedom, live events, plural. So you have complete freedom to choose your own 3-week block to complete the course. Global greenwashing also provides content on regulatory frameworks from more than 20 jurisdictions around the world, catering to professionals who work for multinational companies and to those based in a range of jurisdictions. Greenwashing pollutes trust in markets and undermines real progress on sustainability. So you have the chance to learn to spot it and to stop it. So, next slide, please. Let's come to our guest speakers today. Welcome to Lydia Kilcullen, Manager Sustainability, Global Sustainability and External Affairs at Fortescue, and to Dan Wilcock, Head of Sustainability Governance at the UN Global Compact Network Australia, joining us from Ottawa. Lydia and her colleagues at Fortescue broke some new ground last year and opted for an exclusive corporate cohort of the domestic greenwashing course. So we wanted to ask you, Lydia, to share a few insights about the experience. And with that, Dan, let me hand to you.
Great. Thank you, Greta. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all, depending where you happen to be located. So I'm normally located in Lutruwita, Tasmania, but I'm currently surrounded by snow on the traditional unceded lands of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, as Greta said, also known as Ottawa, Canada. Look, for those I haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm sometimes known as the G guy at the Global Compact. G for governance, but lately it's been G for greenwashing too, as we've rolled out the programs Greta mentioned, really thanks to the demand of our participants who are meeting these issues in the marketplace. So Lydia, thanks very much for joining us today. It's great to have you on this webinar. And you and your team.
Thank you.
You and your team participated, as Greta said, in a greenwashing corporate cohort dedicated to Fortescue. It was actually the first time we ran a dedicated cohort for one business. I know I had a fantastic experience working with your colleagues and your teams, but more importantly, we'd love to hear from you about your experience with the offering last year. So first, I'd just ask you, like, what led Fortescue to decide it wanted to go through its own exclusive cohort of this particular greenwashing course?
Thanks, Dan, and hi everybody. I'm actually coming. So Fortescue is based in Perth, but I'm very lucky today that I'm on the banks of the Swan River at another training course that we're running, and which is a beautiful spot to spend the day. So we met a number of us. We've had a long relationship with this organisation, primarily through our human rights activities. And a number of us had done completed the greenwashing course as individuals. But what we were looking for and why we chose a cohort approach was to be able to bring the organisation together for the sort of the people that weren't part of the sustainability team but had a really strong involvement in our disclosures. So we brought together some people from legal who review part of our internal verification. So if I step back a bit, Fortescue recognises that what it says matters. And we do face a lot of scrutiny around our disclosures. So we already have some processes in place to ensure that what we're disclosing has been verified and it's backed by evidence. So our legal team and our investor relations team, as well as our internal audit team, review all of our public disclosures. So we wanted to bring those people into the room that and sort of virtually sit beside the writers as well as the subject matter experts in whatever the disclosure was around, to get a shared understanding of what some of the risks were that we were looking to manage as part of our greenwashing risks. So it was a lot about getting everybody up to a level of knowledge, but it was also about the conversations we could have in a really safe space around some of our practices, what's worked in the past, what perhaps we've done that we've learnt from, and to have that experience together rather than individually.
Wonderful. Thanks very much. And actually, you've gone straight to some of the issues that I wanted to explore with you, which is fantastic. When actually, as part of running the domestic version of this course, one of the objectives is to sort of expose the roles of various different areas of an organization and equip people to reach out and have those conversations with their peers afterwards. So what Fortescue did was actually short-circuited that by bringing everyone together within the course format itself. Did you see particular benefits from running that cohort together?
Yeah. Look, it was, in a sort of with a cynical hat on or a really practical hat. It only takes one mistake, to recoup the benefits, or one mistake that you've picked up before. One of the things, because we've been disclosing and we've got very much our strategy led by our chairman, Dr. Forrest, is to be very vocal around the things that we'd like to see changed in climate and in emissions. So there was lots of language that we've used for a long time that has become so much a part of the way we speak to each other within the organisation. The terms we use around green, renewable, decarbonisation, and language that you're so used to using that you forget to check it. And I'm a great proponent of the notion that this shared understanding of meaning, which is really what greenwashing is a lot about, is so important. So language that we use internally might not be appropriate to use externally because it means something different to other people. So one of the great benefits was having that shared discussion around, this is a term we've used for the last 7 years. We can't use that in the same context, or we have to define what we mean by that when we're disclosing externally. So that was one of the great benefits, but also just seeing people, the legal perspective versus the operational perspective versus the sustainability perspective was really useful for us. Lots of self-reflection.
Well, that's a positive outcome for sure. Hey, look, so I just wanted to turn to the content of the course for a moment. And some of you might have seen that there was a federal court decision that was finally released on Monday, the ACCR and Santos greenwashing decision, where the claims were dismissed. So we read and try to distill a whole lot of content like that, lengthy judgments and all sorts of other pieces, case studies, to cut through some of these concepts. Lydia, I'm just curious if there were any particular aha moments or surprises or concepts that stood out to you the most through the course. Anything that sticks in
Uh,
mind?
yeah, look, I have to say what was great for me was the use of case studies and, that global, um, there was a clear understanding of not just the Australian context, but the global context as well. So, having you and your team do the hard work of distilling, some really complex judgments or findings, or just, and also being current. This, as everybody probably on this call, it's such a broad area, but have that currency of information was really useful for us. And there were some case studies that you chose that we all could see that were really pertinent to us. So that was really useful. So the materials were great, and we still go back to those, or we talk about some of the things that were talked about in that session still, and we'll continue to do so. So the materials was super useful.
Great. And just before we let you go and get on with your day, sometimes the proof's in the pudding, and so I'm just curious, have you or your colleagues started to do anything differently as a result of the course, without talking out of school on
Yeah,
particular issues?
yes, and look, it's not out of school in the sense that I always really push with sustainability that we're not perfect, and we everybody makes mistakes, or as we mature, our thinking changes. I think the biggest thing for us was to go back to, like I said before, to language. The timing of the session was really useful in that it was in the middle of a reporting cycle. So, well, there's two things about that. I would say to anybody considering doing the course is not to underestimate the effort, the requirements. There's so much interesting reading, and to make sure you've taken the time to be able to sort of enjoy it, to work through that. I enjoyed it, but also we did go back and look at some language that is just part of our language that that we realized we needed to be clearer in what terms meant. So I can see some changes in our glossary and in the way we use terms that are clearer around what we mean by a particular term in our narrative. Excuse me. And that's important. Again, that sort of highlights why doing the course as a cohort was useful, because although I have input in all of the sustainability disclosures, it was useful having the legal team there, because they also see the disclosures from other parts of the business. So the financial reporting, media releases, all the sort of everything that goes, that is disclosed externally or reported externally. We now have people within the business that, as part of their normal processes, will get to see that, and we've got a shared understanding of terms, a better understanding of terms as a result of that.
Well, thanks so much for sharing some insights with us, Lydia. As I signaled at the start, I really enjoyed working with your colleagues. It was a really interested, enthusiastic, and knowledgeable group. So some fantastic exchanges through the facilitator process. Great.
Oh, thank you. We enjoyed it.
And I'll hand back, I think, to Greta at this point.
Yes, thanks so much. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Dan. What an insightful conversation. It's always different to hear someone share firsthand experience. It's just fascinating. So thank you kindly for doing that, Lydia, and also Dan for joining in the late evening for you. So please jump to the next slide for me, team. And if you are interested in learning more or in signing up, please scan these QR codes. So on the left-hand side, you see the QR code for the Australian March cohort, the one that gets you up to date before Easter. And on the left, you see the QR code for the, on the right, sorry, you can learn more about the global anti-greenwashing training. Links to both offerings will also be shared again via the email we will be sending to each of you. So everybody who's registered gets a summary and gets the links and the recording link for today's session. Next slide, please. Now to a completely different topic. It is important to mention the, as we see it, defining sustainability event of the year, our conference, Uniting Business Life Australia, which is returning to Sydney in May. This UNGCNA event presents insights from international and national sustainability leaders to solve the most pressing challenges faced by Australian organisations today. Taking place in a milestone COP31 year, with Australia holding the presidency for negotiations, Uniting Business Life Australia 2026 will serve as a key moment on the global sustainability calendar, uniting Australian business leaders to showcase sustainability leadership and strengthen Australia's voice on the global stage. The program, firstly, it's live right now, and it is tailored to the bespoke needs of Australia's C-suite, including chief sustainability officers, board members, and current, emerging, and future sustainability leaders. It will equip you with technical and actionable solutions to challenges at this intersection of net zero, nature positive, human rights, and governance. Again, the program is online and registrations are open. UNGCNA participants get a discount in any case, and you can also contact us for group bookings if you would like to bring the team along. Before I finish this presentation and we get to questions, I'd like to mention that our program's launch presentation with an overview of our total 2026 activities confirmed at this stage will be held online on the 3rd of March. So next week on Wednesday, the 3rd of the 3rd, we are doing a programs launch. It's a 60-minute deep dive presented by the team, and I think it's for members and non-members, so it'll be a very insightful and more detailed overview, even more detailed than today. The link has been shared now. Now, next slide, please. I'm just going to really give a little summary. So the UN Global Compact is how companies step up. It's the United Nations way of helping business turn values into action. What this means for you? It's UN-backed and locally relevant. We help you move beyond compliance and lead with credibility, resilience, and with purpose. We are aligned with the global priorities and connect business action to UN goals, positioning you as a principled leader in a volatile world. You can access practical support. We give you tools, networks, and opportunities to take meaningful action and make the business case for responsible leadership. Our role is to help you cut through complexity, manage risk, unlock opportunity, and shape a sustainable future. Again, if you're interested in learning more, there's another QR code, but this slide will link you to our Join page. So if you're interested in joining the Global Compact, please go through this or contact either Farah or myself. You can see our names and email addresses on this slide. And another great way to stay in touch is to subscribe to our monthly bulletin, which you can sign up to via the link that's being shared now. Now, with, oh God, we are out of time. Q&A, let me quickly jump into any questions that might have come through. Thank you for sharing all these links, Farah. Appreciate it. So are there any questions? I can't see anyone having asked anything. Check. I can't see any questions. However, you know us now. We are here for you. We will answer questions that you might have about membership, the greenwashing course, which is available to participants and non-participants, so anyone can join. That's also the case for our sustainability reporting community of practice. It's free for members, but you can join it as a non-member. And we obviously hope to see you in Sydney for our Uniting Business Life Australia conference on the 13th and 14th of May this year. All of us will be there. So with that, many thanks for joining, and we hope to see you in next week's program's launch. Have a great rest of the day.